We're in Piornal, northern Extremadura. It's mountainous. We're actually at over 1,000 meters at the moment. It's the end of the Sierra de Gredos, where it turns into Sierra de Tormentas. Basque Pottokas. It's about the most primitive pony or horse that we've got. It's the most primitive example of equus caballos. We know from their mDNA that they come from the Paleolithic horses. Mostly horses disappeared in Europe after the end of the Ice Age, but in the Iberian Peninsula they didn't. The ones that I've got went from, I got them in the Basque Country, and then I had them in a project in the Pyrenees, but that all collapsed, so I brought them here. And I'm very thankful that I was able to bring them so close to home. They've got 1,200 hectares here, so it's a fairly decent-sized bit, really. Now there are 33. I started off with 2 groups, each with a stallion and 3 mares that were pregnant by stallions other than him, to try to get as much genetic variation as possible. Try to keep the genetic variation, because obviously I'm going to end up rather like an island population. I am, so to speak, an island population. The purpose of the project is to show people what horses really are. Especially in Northern Europe, people are seeing, learning about and teaching about horses that are basically all slightly unhinged because they live in lunatic asylums. People don't actually see what a real horse is. And now there are all these courses in equine science and things. I really think that people ought to see what horses are when they're living as they should. People don't really realise that domestication imposes a huge amount on horses. It's like expecting fish to live half out of water all the time. They don't behave very logically. And the behaviour patterns that you see are completely altered. You get an impression of enormous amount of conflict, competition, bad temper, that really is produced by the conditions. The most usual comment of the people who come on courses, even if they're only 2-day courses, is they suddenly stop me and say, "But Lucy, what do we do to them?" Because they suddenly realise that the horses they've dealt with all their lives, they're all a bit screwy, stressed. It's difficult for them. The ponies eat anything. They actually eat quite a lot more than ordinary domestic horses eat. I don't give them any help whatsoever. If they're living as wild horses, they live as wild horses, and that's the end of it. In the summer, they suffer, curiously enough. Me being from Northern Europe, I'm not used to that. I thought the winters would be worse, especially as there's snow. But no, the summers get very dry. There's very little to eat. It's when the foals are suckling hard, too. And then in the autumn, like now, the chestnuts are falling, and then we'll have acorns, too. They do very well in the winter. They get fat in the winter and they go down in the summer. And they eat lots of herbs and different things. They sometimes have wounds and they manage to cure themselves completely. I look at them when I know they have a wound. I look at them. I'm not going to neglect them. But unless it really looks as if I've got to do something, I'm not going to do anything. They're wild horses. And they cure themselves.
How do the horses regard the humans who come to observe them?
I think they've just got used to us. The older black stallion was very, very aggressive towards people at first, because people had been very aggressive to him, and he is a half-wild horse, if you understand that. I mean, he's a really original horse, so he's not a selected domestic horse that just cowers away from fear. No, 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 he's going to go for it. And he was very aggressive. The others, some of them were very frightened. But they've just got used to us sitting about and watching them. Very occasionally, it's the youngsters. They come up and investigate people in the most delicate way. And we just don't say anything. We just sit there like statues, and then they go, oh, well, this isn't very interesting, and go away again.